In 1935, it cost you $2,000 silver to fly from Beijing to Shanghai, around 240,000 RMB. But today, it costs less than 1,000. The aero-engine, the heart of the aircraft, plays a decisive role in the popularity of civil aviation. Even today, it's still very difficult to design and build a top-notch aero-engine. This time, let's review the history of 3 classic aero-engines, sort out their types, demonstrate their working principles with 3D models, and try to understand why aero-engines are called the crown jewels of industry, and only a few countries can design and manufacture them independently. The 3D model shows the construction of the engine. In general, there are 2 types of aero-engines, piston engines and turbojet engines, while the refined classification contains many. The invention of the piston IC engine in 1876 brought a surge of power to mankind and realized their dream of staying in the sky, which was as meaningful as the discovery of drilling wood for fire to mankind. It has a very simple principle. Heat generated by the constant pressure combustion of gas in the cylinder pushes the piston inward, and the piston drives the crankshaft and the propeller to rotate. The propellers rotating at high speed push air to flow backwards more quickly, and the resulting reaction force pushes the aircraft to the sky. The majority of heavy piston engines widely used in early days were radial engines. This is a 9-cylinder radial engine, surrounded by 9 cylinders. Its crankshaft is connected to pistons by a master rod on top. The rest are called sleeved connecting rods and are connected to the central ring and the master rod by pinholes. There are many advantages of radial engine, like cylinder cooling can be achieved by wind. Heavy water cooling system is no longer needed. Spurgo's largest human aircraft is a soccer-field lat wingspan giant that uses 8 14-cylinder PW4360s. The streamlined V engine, inline engine, and post engine are also low-power piston engines that are still widely used in light aircraft, helicopters, and ultralight aircraft. However, in World War II, the fighters' constant quest for extreme speed and aerial stalking exposed the innate flaws of the piston engine. It's a propeller whose rotation provides all power. The faster it rotates, the faster the aircraft flies. As speed of flight increases, the propeller tips will reach the speed of sound earlier than the aircraft. The shock wave generated by them increases their drag and prevents the flight from flying faster. A new propulsion model was in urgent demand. So we entered the jet age. As early as in 1928, when a piston engine was in the limelight, Frank White proposed the working principle of a turbojet engine in his studies and derived the basic equations of engine thermodynamics. But his ideas were too far ahead of the time that his research got no support. Only a few years later, the German Hans von Ohain also proposed the idea of a turbojet engine, and on August 27, 1939, the world's first German-made turbojet engine aircraft, the HE-178, took off. The Meteor F-3 set a record of 975 kilometers per hour, 210 kilometers per hour faster than most powerful propeller fighter of the time. How turbojet engines get their high speed? It first compresses inhaled air, bursts, and then ejects to provide power, like a balloon with a sail open and rushing out immediately. Scientists ended one-stage or multi-stage low-pressure turbine at the end of the turbine to extract more energy. This energy is used to drive different kinds of power sources, and thus developed into a variety of turbo engines. As an advanced version of turbojet engine, turbofan engines can also be classified according to bypass ratio, which is the flow rate of bypass air to air passing through the core. A larger bypass ratio lower the fuel consumption rate of the engine and less noise. They're widely used in large civilian and military transport aircraft. The PW4000, for example, is a high-bypass engine that is commonly used to drive the Boeing 777 and other common passenger aircraft. It consists of a turbofan, low-pressure compressor, high-pressure compressor, combustor, low-pressure turbine, and high-pressure turbine. At the startup, the engine rotator accelerated to optional speed to drive the compressor at high speed. The compressor is a set of discs with blades, which rotates to press the air to the next stage. The air is pressurized stage by stage. to ensure that the fuels in the rear combustor is fully burned. The combustor is a red-shaped tube with an igniter plug. Compressed air and fuel are mixed and burned here. The axis of depression connects the low-pressure compressor assembly to a low-pressure turbine assembly behind it, which provides the mechanical energy required for compression during rotation. The high-pressure compressor consists of a large number of intricately designed blades that further compress the air. The turbine shaft drives the compressor to rotate together to suck air, compress, burn, work, and drive itself continuously. In addition, there's a large fan, which do then provides more thrust. The fan, or the core system, take the PW4000. The primary fan provides over 80% of its total thrust, so definitely it's the fan. Turning to small bypass ratio turbofan engine. The smaller the bypass ratio, the better the engine's acceleration performance and lower the flight resistance, so it's generally used in the military. What does it look like? Let's take a look at the F100 model. Obviously, compared to PW4000, it has smaller fan than the compressor, which means a smaller bypass ratio. In addition, typical military turbofan engines like F100 usually have an afterburner behind the low-pressure turbine, which allows the mixture after turbine to be burned further by spraying oil, thus increasing thrust in a short period of time. With the help of the model, we can explain the principle very clearly, but it's very difficult to build a real aero-engine. There are only 5 countries can independently produce jet engines worldwide, and only 2 of them can independently produce jet engines for large passenger aircraft. Aircraft engines, especially those for passenger aircraft, have extremely high design, manufacturing, and material requirements. It has to work in a small space and high temperature, high pressure, high speed, and high load under severe conditions. For example, nickel-based superalloy used in turbine blades must withstand a gas up to 1,700 degrees Celsius. The process is complicated and tedious, and the cooling roller and coating are the most difficult materials to manufacture in the world. Why should a country build its own engine? Because it's an important embodiment of a country's comprehensive level of science and technology, industrial production, and national power. Since 1956, China started from scratch and has gone through copying, improving, partially designing, and having its own intellectual property rights. Today, the G20 and Y20 are fitted with engines made in China. These achievements condense on remaining efforts of several generations of Chinese people. I expect that a near future place where the Chinese heart can be found everywhere. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy it.